The camera flash is a cruel, sterile pop of light that burns my retinas. It's a physical pain, a temporary blindness that's nothing compared to the permanent one I have been living in for 18 years. I stand in the shadows of the grand living room, just beyond the meticulously arranged lighting umbrellas cropped out of the frame, cropped out of the family. In the center of it all is Victoria. She's wearing a cream-colored cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my first car. Her smile is a perfect polished thing, and she leans into my biological mother, her head tilted just so. Richard, my father, the man whose DNA is an undeniable map in my own cells, adjusts the drape of her sleeve over her shoulder. His touch is gentle, proprietary. It's a touch he has never, not once, given me. He looks at her with a kind of paternal pride that feels like a hot poker to my gut. He sees the daughter he wants to see. I am the complication, the quiet, dark-haired girl who never quite fit, who always felt like a borrowed thing in this house of polished mahogany and silent resentments. For 18 years, they told me the story. I was theirs, their biological child, but there had been difficulties. They were vague on the details always. Victoria, they explained, was adopted to fill a void they couldn't explain. She was the sunshine that healed the cracks in their perfect facade. I was the crack. But the story was a lie. My fingers tremble, the sharp edge of the manila envelope digging into my palm. Inside, resting against my clammy skin, are the sealed adoption papers. My adoption papers. Except they don't say what everyone thinks they say. They don't name me as the adopted one. They name her, Victoria. The girl in the cashmere sweater, basking in the glow of my parents' love, is the stranger. I am the one who belongs. A fresh wave of rage, hot and acidic, bubbles up in my throat. I swallow it down, forcing my gaze back to the scene. They look like a perfect family, a mother, a father, a daughter, a lie captured in a high-resolution photograph. Just a few more, Mr. Richardson, the photographer says, his voice professionally cheerful. This portrait needs to be perfect for the inheritance announcement tomorrow. It'll look beautiful at the estate reading. Tomorrow. The word hangs in the air, a ticking clock only I can hear. The family fortune, the Richardson legacy, it all gets settled tomorrow. Their entire plan hinges on this portrait, this final public declaration of Victoria as the rightful heir. They're not just erasing me from a photograph. They're trying to erase me from existence. Richard murmurs something to Victoria, and she laughs, a tinkling sound that scrapes against my raw nerves. He smiles, a real smile, the kind I used to fantasize about earning. For years I tried. I got perfect grades, I was quiet, I was obedient. I did everything I could to make myself smaller, less of a burden, hoping that one day he would look at me with that same warmth. He never did. He was saving it all for her, the impostor. My hand tightens on the envelope. The paper inside feels impossibly heavy, weighted with the truth that can bring this whole charade crashing down. They think I'm just the moody, forgotten daughter, the inconvenient secret they keep in the West Wing. They have no idea what I've been doing while they were playing happy families. They have no idea that I stopped believing their stories a long time ago. The flash pops again, another searing white punctuation mark on their lie. I don't flinch this time. The burning in my eyes is gone, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. I slip the manila envelope into the inside pocket of my worn leather jacket. It rests against my heart, a shield and a weapon. Let them have their picture. Let them hang it on the wall and toast to their perfect, fraudulent life. They have until sunset tomorrow. And then I'm going to burn their world to the ground. The grandfather clock in the hall chimes 8, each resonant gong a hammer blow against the tense silence of the dining room. I drag the steak knife across my plate, the ceramic screech making my mother, Catherine, visibly wince. Good. Let her be uncomfortable. Comfort is a luxury they've denied me for a lifetime. I'm done affording it to them. I'd made the call an hour ago, my voice a stranger to my own ears, low, steady, and cold. My name is Maya Richardson, I'd told the paralegal at the law firm of Hayes and Sterling. I have urgent documentation regarding the Richardson inheritance. I need a private meeting with Mr. Hayes tomorrow morning before the reading. 8 o'clock. There was a pause, the rustle of papers, and then a hesitant confirmation. They'd probably assumed I was some disgruntled relative coming to make a scene. They have no idea. Across the polished mahogany table, Victoria takes a delicate sip of her wine. Her eyes, the same shade of blue as the hydrangeas Catherine grows in the garden, glitter with smug triumph. She sets the glass down, a perfect ring of condensation blooming on the coaster. "It's so nice," she says, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. Finally having a real family photo without complications. Her gaze flicks to me, a tiny, triumphant smirk playing on her lips. She expects me to shrink, to look away, to be the complication she's labeling me as. The old Maya would have. The old Maya would have felt a hot flush of shame, her eyes stinging with unshed tears. But the old Maya is gone. I buried her this afternoon in the shadows of that photo shoot. I meet her gaze, my own eyes flat and unreadable. I give her a small, tight smile that doesn't reach them. "Enjoy it while it lasts," I reply, my voice quiet but carrying the weight of a promise. I return to my steak, cutting a piece with surgical precision. The knife feels good in my hand, a tool of dissection. The air thickens. Richard clears his throat, shifting in his seat at the head of the table. He hates direct confrontation, especially from me. He prefers my unhappiness to be silent, manageable. "Maya, that's enough," he says, his tone weary, as if my very existence is a chore. "Enough of what, Father?" I ask, not looking up. I spear the piece of steak and chew it slowly, deliberately. I was just agreeing with Victoria. It's important to appreciate moments. They can be so fleeting. I finally raise my eyes to his. He looks uncomfortable, a slight sheen of sweat on his brow under the warm light of the chandelier. He's a man who has built an empire on control, and he's starting to feel it slip. "In fact," I continue, placing my fork down gently, "I've been thinking a lot about family lately. Where we come from, who we are. I've even started researching our family genealogy. It's fascinating what you can uncover when you start digging." Richard's hand, the one holding his fork, freezes midair. It's a tiny movement, almost imperceptible, but I see it. His knuckles are white. Beside him, Catherine's placid mask wavers, a flicker of panic in her eyes before it's smoothed away. Victoria's smirk has vanished completely, replaced by a brittle stillness. I have them. It was a shot in the dark, a line cast into murky waters, and all three of them bit. "Genealogy?" Catherine asks, her voice a little too bright. "What an interesting hobby, dear. What have you found?" "Oh, all sorts of things," I say, leaning back in my chair. I let the silence stretch, enjoying the way it presses down on them. Birth records, hospital registries, family lines that go back for generations. You'd be surprised how much is a matter of public record, how easily a story can be verified or disproven. Victoria picks up her wine glass again, but her hand is shaking slightly. She takes a gulp, not a delicate sip. The predator is rattled. "Well, I think that's quite enough talk about dusty old records," Richard says, his voice a low growl. He puts his fork down with a definitive clank. "We're here to celebrate a new chapter for this family." He looks pointedly at Victoria, who musters a weak smile. "Of course," I say smoothly. "A new chapter." The grandfather clock begins to chime again. 10 o'clock. The sound is a death knell for their lies. 22 hours. 22 hours until I walk into that lawyer's office and rewrite the story they've spent my entire life forcing me to believe. I dab my lips with my napkin and stand up. "If you'll excuse me," I say, my voice polite, detached. "I have an early start tomorrow, a lot to prepare for." I walk out of the dining room without a backward glance, but I can feel their eyes on my back. I can feel their fear. It's a cold, satisfying weight, settling over my shoulders like a long overdue inheritance. The winter air is sharp and bites at my exposed skin, but I barely feel it. Adrenaline is a furnace in my veins. From my position in the darkened alcove of the building across the street, Victoria's penthouse apartment is a brightly lit stage. The floor-to-ceiling windows offer a perfect, unobstructed view. My binoculars are military grade, a relic from a brief, intense survivalist phase I went through last year. A phase my parents dismissed as another one of my moody eccentricities. Turns out it was just preparation. There she is, Victoria. She's pacing the length of her sprawling marble balcony, a cordless phone pressed to her ear. Her movements are jerky, frantic. The picture of calm composure she presented at dinner has completely shattered. This is the real Victoria, stripped bare by panic. In her free hand, she clutches a stack of papers. She stops at a heavy-duty paper shredder tucked away near a potted ficus tree. One by one, she feeds the documents into its hungry maw. Even from this distance, I can recognize the letterhead. Mercy General Hospital. A cold, vicious smile touches my lips. I knew it. In my research, I'd found the lie she'd told everyone, the one my parents had co-signed on. She claimed she was born at Mercy General, the same prestigious hospital where I was born, just a few weeks apart. It was a neat, tidy story. Believable. But her name was nowhere in their birth registry for that entire year. She's destroying the proof. Or what she thinks is the proof. She doesn't know that I'd already hacked into the hospital's digital archives 2 weeks ago. I have a copy of every record she's turning into confetti. Her voice, thin and reedy, drifts across the gap between our buildings. The wind is my ally tonight. Told me the records were sealed permanently. The adoption agency swore it. She listens for a moment, her body rigid with tension. She shoves another handful of papers into the shredder, the machine's grinding whine a soundtrack to her desperation. Not all of them, she hisses into the phone, her voice sharp with fear. Maya's been digging. I don't know how, but she knows something. We need to discredit her before tomorrow, before that reading. Discredit me. The words send a chill through me that has nothing to do with the temperature. So that's the play. Not to argue the facts, but to attack the messenger. It's a classic move, one Richard has used in his business dealings for decades. Ruthless, efficient. She turns her back to me, staring out at the city lights, but her posture is defeated. The shredded paper, caught by the wind, flutters from her balcony like a perverse kind of snow, scattering into the night. Useless scraps of a lie, it's almost poetic. I lower my binoculars and pull out my own phone. My fingers are steady as I open my photo gallery. I'd spent yesterday afternoon photographing every single page of the hospital documents she just destroyed. I have her fraudulent admission forms, the falsified insurance claims, everything. Clear, high-resolution evidence. I select one of the photos, a close-up of the Mercy General letterhead, and attach it to a new text message. I type out a simple, devastating line. Nice night for spring cleaning. See you at the reading. I hit send. Across the street, I watch as the screen of her phone illuminates her face. I see her read the message. Her body goes ramrod straight. The phone clatters from her hand, hitting the marble with a sound I can imagine even from here. She spins around, her eyes wide, scanning the darkness, searching the windows of the surrounding buildings. She's looking for me. She's looking for the ghost that has come back to haunt her. But I'm already gone, melting back into the shadows of the city. I leave her there, alone in her glass castle, with the knowledge that the walls are closing in. She thinks she's destroying the evidence. She has no idea she's just confirming she has something to hide. And I have all the proof I need. The lawyer's office is exactly as I'd imagined. A symphony of hushed tones, polished wood, and the faint, expensive scent of leather and old paper. It's a place built to intimidate, to project an aura of unshakable authority. This morning, it feels like a cage. Mr. Hayes, a man whose face seems to be permanently set in an expression of weary disapproval, gestures for me to sit. He doesn't offer a handshake. His desk is a vast, empty expanse of mahogany, separating us like a judge's bench. Miss Richardson, he begins, his voice dry as dust. You mentioned you have urgent documentation regarding your family's estate. I do. I place my leather satchel on my lap, my hand resting on the reinforced envelope inside. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs, a mixture of terror and exhilaration. This is it, the first real shot. Before we get to that, he says, steepling his fingers, I'm afraid we have a more pressing matter to address. He slides a slim file across the desk. It stops a few inches from my hands. My name is typed on the tab. Maya Richardson. I received this an hour ago. he says, his eyes boring into me. It's an injunction, filed by your sister, Victoria Richardson, and co-signed by your father, Richard Richardson. The words hit me like a physical blow. An injunction? I stare at him, my mind struggling to catch up. They moved faster than I thought possible. It claims, he continues, his voice devoid of any emotion, that you have been exhibiting signs of profound mental instability, that you have developed an obsession with conspiracy theories regarding your family's history. My mouth goes dry. What? The word comes out as a choked whisper. Discredit her. Victoria's words from last night echo in my head. This is what she meant. This is their countermove. It alleges that you have become delusional, a potential danger to yourself and others, Hayes says, his gaze unwavering. And frankly, your call yesterday, demanding a meeting under such dramatic pretenses, does little to refute that. He opens the file. Inside is a single document. He turns it around for me to see. It's a psychiatric evaluation. My name is at the top. It's dated yesterday. It's signed by a Dr. Alistair Finch, a name I've never heard in my life. The diagnosis, in cold clinical text, reads, paranoid personality disorder with delusional ideation. I feel the blood drain from my face. My breath catches in my lungs. It's a complete fabrication, a forgery, a lie so audacious, so monstrous, it's almost brilliant. They didn't just try to discredit me. They're trying to have me legally declared insane. I've never seen this doctor, I stammer, my voice shaking. I never took this evaluation. This is a lie. Hayes's expression doesn't soften. If anything, it hardens with a kind of pitying certainty. Miss Richardson, that is precisely the kind of thing a person suffering from this condition would say. I feel the walls of the office closing in. The expensive air has become thin, unbreathable. They've twisted my every action. My research is obsession. My fight for the truth is delusion. My demand for a meeting is a dramatic pretense. They've built a perfect logical trap, and I walked right into it. The injunction petitions the court to grant your father temporary conservatorship over your affairs, pending a mandatory commitment for observation, he says, closing the file with a soft final thud. The hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. The clock on the wall ticks, each second a nail in my coffin. What about the estate reading? I ask, my voice barely audible. It will proceed as scheduled, 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, he says. Your presence will likely be complicated by these legal proceedings. If the court grants the conservatorship, you won't be in any position to attend. There it is, the checkmate. I'm no longer just fighting for my inheritance. I'm fighting for my freedom, for my sanity to be recognized as my own. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., I'll either walk into that reading as the rightful heir, or Victoria will have me committed to a psychiatric facility to keep me silent forever. A wave of despair washes over me, so powerful it almost makes me double over. They've outmaneuvered me. They've anticipated my every move and twisted it into a weapon against me. But then, through the fog of fear, a single sharp thought cuts through. Why? Why go to such extreme, elaborate lengths? Why risk forging a legal document, a felony, if they weren't absolutely terrified? My fear begins to recede, replaced by a slow-burning, incandescent rage. They didn't do this because they are strong. They did this because they are weak. They did this because they're not just trying to hide what I know, they're terrified of what else I might find. This isn't a checkmate. This is a tell. A desperate, sloppy overplay by a gambler who knows she's holding a losing hand. I look up at Mr. Hayes, and the fear is gone from my eyes. My expression is calm, my hands are steady. I pull my satchel from my lap and place it on the desk. Thank you for your time, Mr. Hayes, I say, my voice even. I don't open the satchel. I don't show him my proof, not yet. Showing him my cards now would be a mistake. He's already been primed to see me as a lunatic. He'd dismiss it as more delusion. I stand up, my spine straight. I'll see you at the reading tomorrow. I walk out of his office, leaving the forged evaluation and the injunction sitting on his desk like a coiled snake. They think they've cornered me. They think they've won. But her desperation just revealed her greatest weakness. She's terrified. And now, I know exactly what I have to do next. I'm no longer just on the defensive. I'm going on the attack. The lock on Victoria's penthouse door is a high-end digital model, advertised as unpickable. It takes me less than 90 seconds to bypass it. The survivalist phase didn't just teach me about binoculars, it also included a deep dive into electronic security systems, another eccentricity that's proving to be my salvation. I slip inside, the silence of the apartment a stark contrast to the frantic chaos in my own head. The air smells of her perfume, something expensive and cloying, like wilting flowers. The whole place is a monument to new money and bad taste. White leather sofas, chrome fixtures, and abstract art that's more about the price tag than the talent. It's a stage set for a life she didn't earn. I don't have much time. She could return at any moment. But my desperation has burned away my fear, leaving only a sharp, crystalline focus. Her attack this morning, the psychiatric evaluation, it was a move born of pure panic. She's not just worried about the hospital records, she's hiding something bigger. Something she thinks is buried so deep, no one would ever find it. People like Victoria, people who build their lives on lies, they always keep a souvenir, a trophy of their deception. I just have to find it. I move through the apartment with quiet efficiency, my eyes scanning for anything out of place. I check the obvious spots first. Desks, drawers, safes. Nothing. It's all just receipts for designer clothes and invitations to society galas. It's the public face of Victoria Richardson, curated and clean. I need to think like her. Where would a con artist hide her most dangerous secret? Not somewhere obvious, somewhere personal, somewhere she could see it, touch it, gloat over it in private. My eyes land on a large, ornate vanity in her bedroom. It's a gaudy, gilded thing, completely out of sync with the sterile modernism of the rest of the room. It feels sentimental, out of place. I run my hands along its smooth, polished surface. The drawers are filled with jewelry and makeup, nothing more. I check underneath, behind. Nothing. But as my fingers trace the intricate carvings on the back panel, I feel it, a tiny, almost imperceptible seam, a hairline fracture in the wood. My heart starts to pound. Using the edge of a nail file from my pocket, I carefully pry at the seam. It resists for a moment, then gives way with a soft click. A false panel. Behind it is a small, hollow space, just big enough to hold a single folded document. My hands are shaking as I pull it out. It's old, the paper yellowed and soft with age. I unfold it carefully under the light of the vanity lamp. It's a birth certificate. But it's not from Mercy General, it's from a small rural hospital in a different state, hundreds of miles away. The date of birth is 3 months after mine. And the name at the top is not Victoria Richardson, it's Veronica Stone. And then I see the names of the parents, Eleanor and Marcus Stone. A quick search on my phone, my fingers flying across the screen, and my blood runs cold. Eleanor and Marcus Stone. They were convicted 10 years ago. A husband and wife team of grifters. Their specialty? Inheritance fraud. Posing as long-lost relatives to swindle wealthy families out of their fortunes. They're both still in federal prison. This is it, the whole story. Veronica, isn't just an imposter. She's the daughter of professional con artists. This isn't just a desperate grab for a family, it's a calculated long-term heist. Richard and Catherine aren't just her willing dupes, they're likely her co-conspirators. They didn't adopt her to fill a void. They hired her to steal my inheritance. My phone buzzes violently in my pocket, making me jump. It's her. Her name flashes on the screen, a beacon of her panic. I let it ring once, twice, then I answer, my voice deliberately calm. Hello, Victoria. Maya, where are you? Her voice is high-pitched, strained. We need to talk, right now, before you do something stupid. I look at the birth certificate in my hand, at the name Veronica Stone. I look around the opulent prison she calls a home. A slow, cold smile spreads across my face. I'm exactly where I belong, I say, my voice soft. I let a beat of silence pass, letting her imagine me anywhere else but here. In my family's home. I can hear her sharp intake of breath. What are you talking about? What have you done? Just catching up on some family history, I say. I snap a crystal clear photo of the birth certificate with my phone's camera. The evidence is secured. It's a fascinating story. You stay away from my parents, she shrieks, the pretense of civility gone. I'll have you arrested. I'll have you thrown in jail for breaking and entering. Will you? I ask, my voice laced with ice. Or will your parents, Eleanor and Marcus, bail me out? Oh, wait, they can't. Federal prison has very strict visitation rules. Silence. A dead, vast silence on the other end of the line. I can almost hear the gears in her mind grinding to a halt. I've just told her I know everything. The game is over. You're finished, Veronica, I say, and I hang up the phone. I carefully fold the birth certificate and slide it into my jacket pocket next to my adoption papers. The clock is ticking. 6 hours until the reading. It's more than enough time. I have the what, the who, and the how. But to utterly destroy them, to leave them with no escape route, I need one final piece of evidence. I need the why. I need the money trail. And I think I know just where to find it. The estate reading is scheduled for 3 o'clock in the main conference room of Hayes and Sterling. I arrive at 2:45. I am not dressed for a funeral or a celebration. I'm dressed for war. A simple black dress, the worn leather jacket, and my satchel now heavy with righteous truth. Just as the outline predicted, Victoria is already there, a queen holding court in a kingdom of lies. She stands near the head of the long, polished table, flanked by 2 burly security guards in ill-fitting suits. Standing beside her, looking smug and clinical, is the fake psychiatrist Dr. Alastair Finch. He holds a clipboard ready to perform his part in this sordid play. A few distant cousins and family business associates are scattered around the room, their faces a mixture of curiosity and mild avarice. They are the audience. Richard and Catherine are seated at the table, their expressions carefully neutral, but their eyes dart towards the door, towards me, betraying their anxiety. They look like aging monarchs about to witness a coup. Victoria sees me enter, and a look of triumphant relief washes over her face. She thinks my arrival is the final piece of her plan falling into place. She thinks I've walked into her trap. Ladies and gentlemen, she announces, her voice ringing with false concern, projecting to every corner of the room. The guards tense, shifting their weight, ready to move on her command. Thank you for coming. I'm afraid we have to address an unfortunate situation before we begin. My sister Maya is unwell. Murmurs ripple through the room. The cousins lean forward, their ears perked for scandal. She's been suffering from a psychotic break, Victoria continues, her voice trembling with expertly feigned sorrow. She points a manicured finger at me. She's become fixated on a delusional fantasy. She believes she's someone she's not. The security guards take a half step toward me. Dr. Finch raises his clipboard as if it's a warrant. I can feel the eyes of everyone in the room on me, a heavy blanket of judgment and suspicion. I take a slow breath, letting the silence hang for a moment. Then, I meet Victoria's gaze, and I smile. You're right, I say, my voice clear and steady, carrying easily through the cavernous room. I did believe I was someone I wasn't. Victoria's triumphant expression falters, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. This isn't how she rehearsed it. I take a step forward into the center of the room. For my entire life, I believed I was the adopted daughter, the outsider, the one who didn't belong. I pause, letting the weight of those words sink in. I look at Richard. I look at Catherine. Their faces are pale, frozen masks. Then I reach into my satchel and pull out the first envelope, the manila one, the one that started it all. But these papers, I say, my voice ringing with the force of a bell, prove that I'm actually the biological one. I walk to the head of the table and place the envelope before Mr. Hayes. His professional impassivity finally cracks. He stares at the envelope, then at me, then at Victoria. Victoria's face drains of all color. It's a spectacular sight. The vibrant, confident woman transforms into a hollow, waxen statue. That's impossible, she whispers, the words catching in her throat. Richard echoes her, his voice a strangled gasp. Impossible. Is it? I turn back to the room, my own audience now, or is it just inconvenient? Before anyone can recover, I pull out the second piece of evidence, the crisp white envelope containing the DNA test results I commissioned last week, using a fallen strand of Richard's hair from his coat and my own cheek swab. I had them express delivered to a secure P.O. box this morning, the final piece of the puzzle. This might clear things up. A 99.999% parent-child match between Richard Richardson and myself. I slide it next to the adoption papers. Mr. Hayes, his hands now trembling slightly, opens both. The room is dead silent, save for the rustle of paper. I turn my attention back to my so-called father. The real question, Richard, I continue, my voice dropping to a low, conversational tone that is somehow more terrifying than a shout, is if I'm the biological daughter, and Victoria's adoption papers prove she was the child given away at birth, then who is she really? I let the question hang in the air, a poisonous dart. And more importantly, I press on, relentless, how much did you pay her, or should I say, Veronica Stone, to come back and pretend to be your daughter? What happened to the inheritance money you've already illegally transferred to her offshore accounts, draining the estate before it could even be read? That's the final blow. Victoria lets out a strangled cry, a sound of pure, animalistic rage and despair. Liar! You forged everything! She screams, lunging across the table, her manicured nails reaching for the papers, for the evidence that will ruin her. But the security guards she hired don't move to help her. They move to intercept her. One of them grabs her arm, his grip firm. Ma'am, you need to calm down. Victoria stares at him, her eyes wild with betrayal. What are you doing? I hired you. Stop her. I'm sorry, ma'am, the guard says, his voice flat. Our instructions have been updated. I allow myself another small, cold smile. I called your security firm this morning, Victoria. I explained the situation, described the impending attempt to commit fraud and have me illegally committed. I even offered to double your rate. They were surprisingly amenable to a client who actually pays her bills on time. Veronica, lets out a guttural scream. It's over. She knows it. Everyone in the room knows it. Mr. Hayes is staring at the birth certificate I'd also enclosed, the one for Veronica Stone, and comparing it to the adoption papers. The dates, the names, the lies. It's all there, an undeniable tapestry of deceit. Dr. Finch quietly slips out of the room, his part in the charade concluded in spectacular failure. Richard and Catherine are frozen in their chairs, their faces ashen. They look old, defeated. Their perfect life, built on a foundation of lies, has crumbled to dust in the space of 5 minutes. The security guards start to lead a struggling, sobbing Victoria away. The impostor princess is being dragged from the castle, and as she passes me, her eyes, filled with a venomous hatred, lock onto mine. You will regret this, she hises. No, I reply, my voice quiet but absolute. You will. As the chaos subsides and the whispers of the shocked cousins fill the void left by Victoria's shrieking, Mr. Hayes looks up at me, his face a mixture of awe and professional horror. The police, whom I had also taken the liberty of calling and asking to wait discreetly downstairs, are now in the room, taking statements. One of the officers approaches me. Ma'am, you mentioned evidence of financial fraud? I nod, my gaze drifting to the far wall of the conference room. On it hangs a ridiculously grand oil painting of Richard's father, the patriarch who built this fortune. It's ostentatious and tacky, just like everything else they value. But I'd found it secret during my late-night recon. I look at the officer, then at Richard, who seems to have shrunk into his expensive suit. The account numbers for the offshore transfers, the agreements, everything. It's in the safe, I say, my voice steady. The one hidden behind the family portrait. The final, perfect irony. The symbol of their legacy, of the family they tried to construct, was the very thing hiding the proof of their crimes. I watch as Richard's head droops, a final, silent admission of guilt. 6 months later, the penthouse is empty. The white leather sofas are gone, sold to an auction house. The chrome fixtures gleam uselessly in the afternoon sun, slanting through the clean, floor-to-ceiling windows. The only things left are cardboard boxes, taped up and labeled Evidence A and Evidence B. Sam, my oldest and only true friend, hefts a box onto a dolly. You sure you don't want to keep any of this? I mean, this espresso machine looks like it could launch a satellite. I shake my head, a real smile touching my lips. It's all part of the lie, Sam. I don't want any of it. Sam had been my lifeline through all of this. When I first started digging, he was the one who taught me how to trace digital footprints, how to navigate the dark corners of the web where secrets are bought and sold. He never once thought I was crazy, he just believed me. So, what happens now? He asks, wiping a smudge of dust from his forehead. Now? I look out over the city. It feels different from up here, not like a kingdom, but just a place. A place where I can start over. Veronica, took a plea deal. She'll be out in 7 years with good behavior, less if she testifies against her parents. And Richard and Catherine? Their trial is next month. Conspiracy to commit fraud, among other things. Their lawyers are trying to paint them as victims of a master manipulator, but the money trail is hard to argue with. The inheritance, what's left of it after the lawyers take their sizable cut, is mine. All of it. I won. But the victory feels hollow sometimes. The family I had spent my entire life trying to earn the love of, the one I thought I'd lost and then fought to reclaim, was never real to begin with. It was a business transaction. I was a liability. Victoria was an asset. It was that simple. Sam comes to stand beside me at the window. He follows my gaze. You know, he says quietly, you didn't lose a family, Maya. You escaped a prison. I look at him, and the hollow feeling starts to recede, replaced by a quiet, steady warmth. He's right. I walk over to the last remaining piece of furniture, a small side table near the door. On it sits a single object I'd insisted on retrieving from the Richardson mansion. It's the family portrait. The one they took that day, the one without me in it. I pick it up. Richard, Catherine, Victoria. 3 smiling liars in a gilded frame. What are you going to do with that? Sam asks. I'm keeping it, I say. I run my thumb over the glossy surface, over Victoria's perfect, fraudulent face. As a reminder. A reminder that some things that look perfect from a distance are rotten to the core. A reminder that the truth is always worth fighting for, no matter the cost. And a reminder that some pictures aren't worth 1,000 words, some photos are worth 1,000 lies.